Good day, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sikh Anesthesia Podcast. This is one of those podcasts which I personally have gotten a lot of requests from, may it be the AANA or the Diversity CRNA event. We all know UC Davis's program is now up and running, and it's one of those programs which is gaining a lot of attention for obvious reasons. So here we are, giving an insight from the very own people of UC Davis's Nurse Anesthesia Program, Director Jake and Khloe Gomez, faculty. So before further ado, I'm going to introduce them and we'll dive right into it. So a lot of you already know Jake, but here we go again. Jake Sareerak is a CRNA with over 12 years of clinical experience. He is the founding program director of the Doctor of Nursing Practice Nurse Anesthesia Program at the University of California, Davis. He has led the development of the first doctoral CRNA program within the UC, which is University of California system, focusing on innovative and student-centered education. In addition to his leadership role, he is pursuing a PhD doctorate in nursing education with research centered on student success and clinical learning environments. Jake is passionate about mentorship, which I can honestly vouch for personally. But Jake is passionate about mentorship, equity in healthcare education, and preparing the next generation of nurse anesthetists to lead with clinical excellence and professional integrity.
Wow, what a great info. It seemed like I wrote that myself.
He has a sense of humor too, guys. Moving forward, we have Dr. Khloe Gomez, a DNP CRNA, has nearly a decade of experience in anesthesia practice and education. Since 2016. She has provided high quality anesthesia care and spent 4 years as a clinical coordinator for Kaiser Permanente School of Anesthesia, mentoring future CRNAs. She earned her Doctor of Nursing Practice DNP in 2024 with her research focused on improving informed consent for epidural placement. Now transitioning from clinical practice to academia, Khloe is joining the University of California, aka UC Davis, as a professor of pharmacology in their newly established CRNA program. In April 2025, she presented at the Diversity CRNA in Pasadena, further contributing to the advancement of diversity and excellence in the nurse anesthesia education. Through her teaching and mentorship, Khloe is dedicated to shaping the future of nurse anesthesia. Many of you, like me, know her from her Instagram as well. So, welcome, Dr. Gomez.
Thank
We're
you.
glad you're here. So we'll just dive right into it. First question first, and either one of you are welcome to jump in at any point, or both of you can talk about the same question, but however you would like to address this. But the first question is, we had 5 CRNA programs before UC Davis, right? So what is it that sets UC Davis School of Nurse Anesthesia apart from other programs in California and across the nation? We understand that every program serves to prepare the nurse anesthesia residents for any kind of setting, whatsoever it may be. But why should residents also pick, or registered nurses also pick UC Davis as their top choice?
So Dr. Gomez, do you want to take this one first from a perspective of a founding assistant program?
Yes.
If you think about it, you are one of the founding professor. If you think about it, we are the group, right?
Yep. I was one of the first faculty onboarded.
Yeah, the first hire. I just want to say the first
Let's
hire.
hear it.
Yeah, UC Davis, like I said, I'm new to, like you said in my intro, I'm new to academics in general. And I always say that I feel like I'm at the peak of academia. UC Davis, from my own opinion and perspective, not only talks the talk, but we walk the walk. We're very much about not only diversity, which is one of the fundamental things that Dr. Sareerak Jake wants to see in our program is to increase diversity in our profession, which is very much needed in my opinion. But we are very much about giving back to the community and increasing access to care within the community. So with our clinical sites and with everything going on in the Sacramento area, we're very much about kind of that culture. And in the interview process and admitting our first inaugural cohort, that has been our top priority at UC Davis as this very first cohort has been formed. And that's what Dr. Sareerak told me on my very first conversation with him. And I've seen it all the way through until now. Next month will be our NAR's first day. And I know that that whole orientation will be highlighting all of those things. So it's very exciting. And those are the things that I've kind of seen that set UC Davis apart from other programs that I've worked with.
Can't wait to see the pictures.
Oh yeah, it's going to be awesome. Fun
Yeah,
filled.
so I wanted to add something to that, but before we get started, I just want to say a quick note that everything I share here is just my own opinion, that my own experience. I'm not speaking on behalf of the university or any organization I'm affiliated with. It's just me sharing my vision, my experiences, and what I learned along the way. So just want to get that out there.
Copy
Just
and
like Dr.
paste, copy and paste that to me and Khloe. But yeah, please. We agree.
You know, I just wanted to say that when I got hired into UC Davis, they asked me, what do you want to have this program be? If you can have anything. And I just say, I wanted this to be the crown jewel of the West Coast, one of the best program in the nation. I want to set the benchwork, like the benchmark for the education standards that, you know, that we want to raise the knowledge, the accountability. And I feel like in the UC system, we have the resources in the largest academic center, well-known UCSF, UCLA, UC Irvine, UC San Diego, UC Davis, UC Riverside. We have all those resources, right? And we are one system. We have access to all the library. So think about the interdisciplinary resources that we have. So I think that really sets us apart. And I remember when I first got hired, I got the Department of Engineering contacted me. Hey, do you have a project that you want to work with that would improve your student learning? I said, yeah, I want to do 3D printing on the trachea. Oh, we could help you with that. And that's the Department of Engineering. So think about that. They don't know, like, they have no idea who I was, right? But they know that I'm coming on and they have resources to help. And I feel that sitting in that space, in that environment, I think would really set us apart from all the other program. And not to say that all the other program are not good. I can just tell you all 5 program in California are one of the best, right, in a nation. But if you ask me what sets us apart, just like all the different apples in the basket, we all look a little different, taste a little different, but we all apples.
I want a 3D trachea.
Yeah, can you believe that? They actually contacted me like, hey, let's apply for grant together. Let's do a project together. But that's the environment of a university that I want to be in, that people reach out to want to improve. So
One of our residents here at National, uh, her her DNP project was actually 3D trachea as well. I mean, the 3D trachea as well, but she was focusing on crikes, right? So I think this is revolutionary stuff.
well, I can give my project away. I actually
Spoiler alert.
well I I did quite a bit of simulation and I
Right.
found that the model to do fiber optic inspection of tracheal bronchotree is very difficult and very expensive. So if you could do 3D printing that kind of
Absolutely.
tell you the primary trachea, bronchi and all that, I think it would be valuable. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for answering this question. Moving further along, can you talk about what kind of applicant, what kind of registered nurse or applicant would thrive at UC Davis? And what qualities do you guys look for beyond GPA and certifications? I do know that UC Davis does values a holistic approach, but what does that holistic approach entails?
God, we all look for something different. I could tell you that every member on the admission committee does have a vote and they're all equal. I could tell you what I'm looking for. I think I'm looking for someone because I believe that once you sitting in front of us during an interview, you have what it takes to be successful. So I'm not doubting that at all. So what I'm looking for is someone who have a little bit of struggle in the past, learn something from it, right? And then know what it takes to maybe we're not successful, and how would I take that and motivate you to try harder? Because essentially that's kind of like anesthesia school. Not everything is smooth. It's valleys and, hills and valleys and hills all the time. So I feel like someone who knows how to deal with those kind of setback tend to be the really successful applicants. So that's what I look for, is someone who can show that.
So
Um,
comeback greater than the setback.
yeah, and use that more of a motivation instead of,
Absolutely.
oh, I sucked.
Absolutely.
Instead, like, you know what? I didn't do so well today, but how can I do better tomorrow?
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I definitely think that like the term I think of is grit, and that, just ability to overcome obstacles. We always ask that question, and I'm sure it's on Reddit or wherever people, allnurses.org, is that still a thing? Where they have CRNA
Absolutely
school.
is.
Is it? Okay. See, I know
Absolutely.
there's a lot of prep academies and stuff out there these days that we didn't have back in my day. Not that it was that long ago, but where, that question of tell us a time where something went wrong and what did you do and what was the outcome? That's like the primary thing we're looking for. And if you can speak to that really well, whether that's like something, it doesn't have to be something super traumatic or like, I didn't have honestly a lot of trials and tribulations. I was very, like I grew up just differently in that way where I didn't have those big life events. But I could still speak to something that gave me grit and gave me that opportunity to speak to the fact that you can make it through and you can make it to that finish line, because that's what we want to see. We
Absolutely.
want to see all of our students reach that finish line, and knowing that they'll go through those obstacles, how are they going to overcome it? So I agree with you on that.
Absolutely. And I feel like it doesn't even have to be school related or medically related. It could be
No.
It doesn't.
life experiences.
And we honestly love to hear. That's my biggest
Exactly.
piece of advice when someone asks me like, what should I do in my interview? And we want to hear your
Be
stories on
authentic.
top of the
Be
answers.
authentic.
Yeah, be authentic, tell your story, and weave that into the answers. We want to hear life experiences.
So, for follow-up question, Chloe. So, for our viewers who don't know what grit means, could you please elaborate? What is grit?
Yeah, grit is just, like I said, the ability to overcome. And it doesn't have to be something super traumatic in your life, but it just gives you that. Ooh, how would you define it? I can't ask ChatGPT. That would be my usual go-to, like define grit for me. But let's see. It's just that. What's a synonym for grit? Just, yeah, ability to overcome. What do you think, Jake? Can you think of anything synonymous?
I
Like,
see grit. I see grit. I love analogy, right? I see grit as when you try to exercise and you try to see improvement in your body and you just go to the gym, it hurts. You try to eat
That's
right
grit.
and you
That's
see
grit.
nothing
yeah,
for days, for weeks, for months, and you
That's
just
grit.
putting in the work.
keep going. Yeah.
Keep
Keep
going.
going. Keep going.
You don't see it right away. You just know and you trust that what you're doing,
Right.
hopefully it's the right thing. You don't always get it right, and that's okay. And sometimes you have cheat day. Sometimes you fell off the wagon and had a chocolate, and that's okay. That's grit too. And you get
Right.
back to it. So I always see that
Grit
as an
too. Yeah.
exercise,
Exactly.
right? And the reward at the end, maybe a year or two from now, you look back at your old photo and go, "Oh, I made some improvement." I think that's great. If you expect to exercise in 2 weeks and have a six pack, I don't think that's great. It's called liposuction.
Agree.
I'm just kidding.
Agree. So wonderful, wonderful analogy by Jake. But I just looked up. I asked actually ChatGPT, which if you ask, it's funny. I was actually talking to ChatGPT yesterday and having like a full conversation. I was like, "Wow, you know me better than a lot of people out there." But it is crazy. ChatGPT got grit.
Yeah.
ChatGPT got grit.
Yeah.
But Chat says grit stands for growth, resilience, integrity, and tenacity, which
Oh,
all
nice.
just Jake
I
described.
love it. I love it.
It's perfect.
Actually,
Yeah.
the other
So
thing that I
go ahead.
wanted to add before I move on, I think if someone were to watch this podcast, I think if they want to apply just for any program, I think having self-awareness is also very important. That's such a good trait to have in this training or any kind of training, especially training that you may sometimes get criticized for every little thing you do, and you don't often get praise that often. To have self-awareness that sometimes whoever doing all the criticism towards you, it may not be personal towards you, right? To have self-awareness to because it's very easy to come from an ICU setting where you used to know everything to this setting where you always want to get A's, you want to be the best. But maybe that's not always the case or not right now, and that's okay. To have that self-awareness, I think that's very important. And it's very difficult for us to tell you that it is okay not to be perfect. It is okay not to get A's all the time. It is okay. It doesn't make, and it doesn't matter. But no matter how many times I say that, they just want to get every single point they could, just because they're used to being the best. Um, so I do that with my own family now, with my daughter. She just had swimming lesson today, and my partner sent me a video, and she got fifth place. And I thought, oh wow, she improved. That's great. I don't even care if she get first or second, or she just finished. That's all I care about, right? So I'm trying to do that because hopefully, whatever I'm doing in my own personal life would be instilled in my professional life too,
Absolutely.
right? That is okay
Absolutely.
not to be perfect. And for her to be self-aware that you don't have to always try to be the best. So I think with that quality, when you're coming in, you'll be very successful. So yeah, I just wanted to add that there.
No, absolutely. I feel like as I'm going through my clinical portion and even like my didactic portions, I feel like the competition left me, but I never left the competition. If that makes any sense, it's like so ingrown because the hustle was never like I don't know how to explain it. Like my brain never calmed down in that sense. Like now I have made it, so I can take a deep breath. So it took me like good 6 months, and then I was like, you know what, 82 is the lower number. 82.1, no one is taking my seat away, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
had to
yeah,
shift that mindset because I was not enjoying life.
yeah,
Because you have to, and especially like now, and your residents will know it pretty soon when they go to DHR. I don't know how the structure is with your guys' program. Like, is it integrated, which we'll get into, but our program is front loaded, so we do almost 60 hours a week here. And if I don't take it easy on myself on Saturday and Sunday, you could imagine
yeah.
it would go crazy. But
Mhm.
so there's something, but yes, self awareness is very important. And anesthesia is very humbling. One day I'm intubating people left and right, and the other day I'm like, oh my God, where's the McGrath? Right? Where is the McGrath? So it is very humbling. So moving forward, could you describe us what the admission and the interview process looks like? Like if we could just talk about a little bit of the timeline and What does it look like?
So how about
Clinical
I'll
questions,
talk
personal
about the
questions. How does that?
admission process, and I'll let Dr. Gomez talk about the maybe the interview part of it. Like, yeah, is that okay? Um, so I think you'll be surprised to
Sounds
know
great.
that
Perfect.
our
Yeah.
admission process is completely blinded. We don't, the faculty don't know anything about you. It's completely blinded, meaning that the admission staff will do all the vetting as far as the GPA, all the ICU experience, personal statement, they do all that. So the timeline goes that will open in the fall. So last year we opened a little bit later because of accreditation. So this year, don't quote me on it, but sometime around September, we should start opening in the nursing cast. Then you can submit your application. We need 3 letter of recommendation from anyone. It doesn't have to be in particular order. But here's the other thing that I want to warn people. When you ask for a letter of recommendation, make sure they know you, because we have seen really good letters and we've seen okay letter and we've seen really bad letters. Make sure they know you, they know that you'll be successful in this kind of program. So it's not just a generic, he's good, he's okay, right? But make sure they're good. Um, we have, we don't have personal statement, like a single personal statement. We have targeted statement. We ask what we wanted to know, and you just answer that like an essay question. So we have 4 or 5 questions about what we wanted to know. And then it go into the admission team. They do all the work. They look at the last 60 GPA. They look at your science GPA. We do look slightly heavily on the science GPA just because of the nature of what we are studying. And then they look at the letter of recommendation, and then they'll assign points. And then we wait a little bit, then they'll send it out to the faculty review. But then we still don't know who you are. We don't know where you go to school. We don't know where you work, nothing. And I just want to say why we do it that way. I actually liked it because it completely take the bias out. Sometimes we have what we call university bias. When someone say, so I'm gonna throw the name out there. University A is a top tier university, Ivy League school, versus University B, community college. When you heard someone go to University A, you don't even need to know who they are. In your mind, oh, they must be smart. We took that out of the equation. We don't even know where you go to school. Yep, yep, yep. Yep. So the only time we start
Credibility,
seeing you
credibility
is
bias will
during the
not kick in.
faculty review. When we read your personal statement, when we read your letter of recommendation. And then after that, we would recommend for an interview. And then I'll let Dr. Gomez talk about the interview process.
Yeah. And
Before
I
we
definitely,
dive into that,
yeah.
Chloe, I want to re-emphasize one point.
So fun.
Sorry if you hear background music. My neighbors are having some kind of party. I apologize for that. I have no control over that. I might go join them later. But
Yeah, I was gonna say after
what I
this.
wanted to, yes, exactly. What I wanted to emphasize was before so I've done these interviews with a couple of schools actually, and I've actually spoke to multiple
You
directors.
still
English is
do
my
better
third
than
language, guys.
I.
Okay, so let's. But I've spoken to multiple directors.
And me. Yeah, exactly. You're doing awesome.
No, no, for real. But like I've spoken to a lot of directors, and they've all said the same thing. Like science GPA directly correlates with the nurse anesthesia residents' success in the program. So, and they have also recommended if someone does have C's in their transcript, it is a very good idea to retake that course and get a higher grade, which also shows grit. And every program is different, but that's the reason why it is so emphasized, because there's actually research out there which shows excellence in grad school program related to your science GPA in undergrad programs. But floor is yours, Chloe. Interview
Oh, yes.
process, please.
Yes, the interview process. And I second that about the letters of recommendation as well. That is definitely, that's what my biggest piece of advice to all of the future NARS that I spoke with at Diversity CRNA is they said, like, how can I improve or what can I do? And I was like, make sure your letters of recommendation are solid. That's our first opportunity to see who you are, exactly what Jake was saying. The interview process, I would say, is primarily for UC Davis's system, personality based. And by personality based, I don't mean that we don't ask any clinical scenario questions, but we're really trying to get a picture of who you are, like I've said previously. The questions, I'm not going to say the questions like that we ask, but we'll ask for those classic, clinical scenarios, what you did, how you overcame it, what was the outcome, those like typical questions. And it's really not we're not trying to trick you. We're not trying to, somebody actually reached out to me and said that they were asked in an interview, not at our program, obviously, but they were asked, what's more important, ventilation or oxygenation? And I was like, ooh, that's like really tricky. Like, we're not trying to trick our interviewees. We're really trying to get that picture of who you are. And what's awesome is we have so many people on our panel. We'll have more people on our panel this next upcoming year with the more faculty that's been onboarded. So we'll be able to get an even better, well-rounded panel of interviewers for them. But yeah, basically we know that if you're sitting in that seat, like Jake had already said, we know you got it. Like, we know you can do it. It's basically Dr. Burrows, Terry Burrows is our assistant program director, and he told many candidates that asked, this is just a numbers game at this point. We know you're going to be a CRNA someday, whether it's UC Davis or somewhere else. It's just a numbers game. We have 16 seats, and, just keep going if it's not UC Davis. So it's basically just you guys telling us your stories and us seeing that critical thinking, the personality, because what we do in anesthesia is so personality based. You've got a circulator to worry about. You've got the patient, clearly, number one. You've got the surgeon to worry about. Like, there's a lot of personalities, and you just started clinical. So you can see the world is very different in the OR. So we want to make sure that
Always anesthesia's fault.
it's always anesthesia's fault. Yeah, exactly. And what are you going to do about that? So seeing that personality component is really important in the clinical, because I was clinical with students prior to this academic position. So I look a lot clinically and see like how I think students will do clinically. And that's a component I'm personally looking for based on my past experiences, right? And my biases. So it's kind of nice to have different faculty members that have different backgrounds, because that's personally something that I look at is like, personality wise, what are you going to do when your preceptor, like Jake already said, like says something to you that, what are you going to say back? Are you going to argue? Or are you going to how's the conversation going to go? We're getting a good picture of how you are personally. So that's kind of the interview process that I've seen at UC Davis.
So would it be safe to say that the interview process is kind of like to mimic an OR nerve-wracking setting, perhaps? And how would you react?
Yeah. I mean, any interview, and we're very, I would say as a faculty, very gracious. We understand people are sitting in that seat. This is the most nerve-wracking situation they'll ever be in. I mean, the stakes are high in a CRNA program interview. But so we spoke as faculty, like, we're not like, oof, they were nervous. Like, we know everyone's going to be nervous, but it's that, what do you do with those nerves? Do the nerves get better as the interview goes on? Because again, we're not very intimidating people. So we're smiling and we're not being biased again with the smiling and all of that.
Yeah.
Jake's smiling.
Jake and intimidating is like opposite. It's like,
right. And honestly,
it's like me.
I just wanted to tell
it doesn't happen.
Well, if I were to apply again, I would like this group of faculty. We have a really quirky, cute little group of faculty. We are a fun group of people. We could be serious when we want
I can
to,
tell.
but we're generally a fun group of people. We're not here to try to scare you. We're just here try to make sure our future is bright by getting the best people to the best opportunity. And we just want to be your coach. We can't teach you everything. We just want to coach you into your finish line. So, I just see like your coach. Sometimes they're having fun with you, and sometimes we need to have serious talk with you, and that's okay, And I like I always look around the group of the faculties, like every time we got together, I'm like, what a lucky group of people that I got to work with. We're like a little quirky group of people. Like people just joke around and fun. And that's the environment that I hope the NAR will come in and see that we're not here try to scare you. But if we need to have a serious talk with you, then you probably should pay attention a little bit, you know. Yeah. Oh, I can
Wonderful.
hear the
Thank
music
you
now.
both for
It's
answering that question. Moving forward, I have a question regarding
No, it's okay. It's fun. You
how
know
does the
what? It's
you're
totally
good.
okay.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
apologize, guys, but I mean I don't apologize.
I love
The
it.
music is pretty nice. I love my Mexican neighbors. I'm not gonna lie. The food is awesome. The
There
music
we
is
go.
awesome. So I'm not gonna apologize. There's some tacos in my fridge. We're waiting for me after I'm done with this. So anywho, so what does the clinical training at UC Davis looks like, and how soon are the NARS expected or exposed to the high acuity cases? Is your program
So
integrated,
I could
front
take this one
loaded?
a little
When
bit,
does the clinical
Dr.
portion
Gomez, and if you want to add
comes
anything,
into
you
play?
can. So our program is considered integrated because we are not completely front loaded. Um, the first quarter to the fifth quarter, you're in classroom and simulation. And then clinical start in the sixth quarter, just 2 days a week. We started out nice and slow, and the first clinical will most likely be at UC Davis, where the Daddy Jake will be close by to watch your progress. And if anything need a little more attention, SimLab is right there. We can work to improve it before I send you out to the world and let you fly a little bit. So the first quarter is 2 days a week, and then seventh quarter is 3 days a week, and then progressively build larger to a bigger responsibility. And then the last year, which is the third year, is all clinical and scholarly project. So the third year is typically 4 days a week, but here's what sets us a little bit apart. So I do want to say this now, in case anyone thinking about applying, okay? We want to train you to know what it is like to be a CRNA. Sometimes you don't go home at 3 p.m. Sometimes you don't go home at 5. Sometimes you have to finish your cases. Sometimes you do evening shifts. Sometimes you do odd hours. Sometimes you do call. We want you to get like a little bit of taste of what that feels like. So we try to structure your schedule to mimic what a CRNA would do. It doesn't mean that I will put you all night like when you work as an RN. It's not like that. We just want to make sure that you get a taste because there's a benefit on doing evening. There's a benefit of doing call shift because resources are very scarce. You need to prioritize your assessment. You don't have a lot of help. You don't have a lot of, maybe the blood bank is not open. Maybe you don't have anyone to run and get blood for you. So you need to prioritize, your case a little bit better, right? So there's a lot of benefit to do those kind of cases. Now, as far as the clinical side, we have the UC system, we have level one trauma center in the Central Valley, we have the VA system, we have out of state in Texas, and we have the rural hospital near near the northern coast that in contract right now, and then some small rural independent CRNA site in the Northern California region and the Central Valley. So a lot of clinical site are in contract. I just usually don't say anything until everything is signed, but we are talking, and contract can take about 8 months to sometime a year. Yeah. So it's just waiting for contracts to go through.
But looks like we're
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
but looks
that's
like we're moving
because
to a
that's
very diverse
because
clinical
I
team here,
feel
which is
I
very
don't
promising.
have an opinion of you have to be one type of CRNA. I see, and I mentioned you this, I am your coach. I will train you to do things that CRNA would do. When you walk out of that door, you do whatever you want to do that fits your life. But you should have the tools to do it. right? You can work in any setting you want to. You could work in the medically directed if you want. If it fits your lifestyle, nothing wrong with that. You could work in supervision, and you could work solo in critical access hospital. Totally up to you, but you should have all the tool to be successful. So that's my belief. And Dr. Gomez, do you have anything to add about that? Or
No, I like I like that a lot. Chloe?
Oh no, I was just going to tell a funny story. I remembered my first 16-hour shift as a nurse anesthesia student. So going with we should be doing all different shifts as learners. I was with my mom at her clinical site that she was clinical instructor at. And I was like, 9 p.m. rolled around and I was like, I'm tired. Like I got to get out of here. And she's like, nope, sorry. You got to stay till 11:30. That's just how this is going to go. So that was my first experience, like working a longer shift. Like, I mean, as nurses, we didn't work 12, we just worked 12s, right? But that was my first exposure into a long shift. So it's so important to get that perspective. It's a long time. And then I did 24-hour shifts up until this appointment at UC Davis. So those shifts are great to see as learners. So I'm
and
glad
we're gonna add
that
the
we're
day off. So it's
incorporating
not
that
like we're
into
gonna put
our clinical
24-hour back to
experience at
back to
UC
back to
Davis.
back. That's not right.
Sorry, big on caffeine.
No.
Yeah, no, back to back. Yeah. 120 hours a week.
Yeah.
Finishes the 2,000 hours in 6 months.
Imagine.
Right. Imagine, yeah. So moving forward, how are nurse anesthesia residents supported in transitioning from bedside nursing to being, as Jake mentioned, solo independent providers?
Ooh.
How are they supported?
I mean, I would say every step of the way in our program with the faculty alone and the mentorship. So each of our faculty will have 1 to 3 students that will be mentoring personally. So every quarter we'll have a meeting with them to like keep them on track and just see how things are going. I mean, honestly, I've already thought about my meetings with the students and they haven't even really been assigned to us yet. But just that check-in of like, how are you doing mentally? Like, how are things going mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever, just to check in. Because I think that's a very important part. Mental health is a huge thing in 2025, but something we're incorporating into our program. Those check-ins are going to be really important. And then clinically, we'll talk about how are we doing clinically. And I'm not sure, and Dr. Sareerak, Jake can talk about the clinical progression and that type of thing to become an independent provider, because that's what we want at the end of the day. Like Jake already mentioned, we want you to be able to walk out the door and work anywhere your heart desires. And so that's going to be important. But I think that there's a huge component of mentorship that will get the students to be successful.
So I think one of the
belief.
key
But Jake, you want to
success on
chime
how
in
do we
too?
get student there, we need to have all the parts. I think we have all the right parts. I gave this talk to the UC Davis CRNA staff in their meeting about how do we make this ICU nurse into a competent CRNA provider. I call it the pillar. How do we make that? It takes curriculum. It takes strong curriculum. It takes simulation. They can't just walk to clinical with minimum simulation time, right? They take mentorship. So we are really proud, as you mentioned, the Dr. Gomez, kind of mentioned about the faculty to student advisor. Once they have multiple cohorts, the student will have their kind of like a mentorship together. But I want to just give the shout out to all the CRNA in the community. I put out a little Facebook post asking for CRNA mentor in the community because I feel like there's one missing aspect in mentorship. It's from the community mentorship aspect to the student that at the finish line, this is where your life might be, or someone who have gone through the process already and now finished. And this is not a random pairing. And the reason I want to give a shout out is like I put out a Facebook post and I thought I would get maybe 20. I had over 250 CRNA volunteer to be mentor, right? So And that's
Wow.
just to tell you how excited the community who want to see the future of the student, you know. So then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to ask the student to list the top 5 things they want to get mentorship from the community. And then I'm going to ask the community what they have to offer, and then I'm going to pair them up. So that's how the mentorship works. Sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay. And the mentorship is very informal. Call, text, email, whatever they want to make it to be. But they have the multiple angle. They'll have the faculty, because sometimes they'll get tired of Chloe and I tell them, oh, you should do this, right? And then they get tired of hearing, student to student mentorship. But then if they get someone from the community, I think that will help. It takes a village. We always hear that it takes a village. So now the village is stepping up. Like
It takes a
I'm
village.
blew away by the support from the community. And as far as yeah,
And sometimes it's, yeah.
yeah,
I was just gonna say
yeah,
sometimes it's the same answer, but just a different voice or like a different way
yeah.
it's presented. It will do
Oh,
the
yeah.
trick.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes the same. No, absolutely. Thanks both for answering this question. I know Jake touched on this, mentioning about having sites and contracts in terms of ruler sites, trauma sites in the Central Valley, ruler sites in Texas. Do you guys also plan to do
I
any
sign
mission
up for a
trips
few
in the
mission
upcoming
trip
future?
because what
Is
I
that in the books?
do is I try to create that connection first. I get myself in the door first and I drag everyone out through the door after me. So that's what I plan to do. And I know that Dr. Toon have done a lot of mission trip. So Brian Toon, we're very fortunate to, I'm not going to say where I stole him from, but I stole him from somewhere, from some other university. Yes. So I don't know if you know, so Dr. Brian
We've got him
Toon
now.
is a PhD, DNP, FNP, CRNA who run an HIV street clinic in Fresno. Very accomplished, been educated for a long time. And now he's one of our professor here. He's one of the highest ranked professor in our team. Yes. So think about that team. So when I
Dr.
talk about the
Brian Toon
pillar,
is
right?
awesome.
We have the curriculum, we have the sim lab, we have the mentorship. Now we have the faculty as one of the pillars to support the student. And the last pillar that I didn't talk about, the NAR themselves, they need to be there. They need to be self-directed. They need to be an adult learner. They need to take accountability. So when all that pillar are together, then we have a really well-supported student that can go out there and be a good CRNA. So that's a talk I gave to the series. So how do we make ICU from the bedside transition? It doesn't just take one person or one thing. It takes multiple things. So I hope that makes sense.
Hmm.
Now that makes a lot of sense. So, please inform me on
16.
this, but the first class size is 9 or 16.
16.
So first class size is 16. So for
We
the
have
first
7.
class, this is pretty lucky because the faculty to NAR
We have
ratio is
7.
going to be very low. Yes. Wow. Look at
Lucky
that.
or unlucky, I'm not
Look at
sure.
that.
We're gonna be on
They
them.
are a very lucky bunch. Very lucky
Mhm.
bunch. But
Yeah, exactly. We'll let them decide.
that's double-edged sword. Double-edged sword. But we can expect this to grow. I'm hoping, assuming. Um, I know we spoke a lot about support and program culture. And maybe Chloe, you can talk about this. Um, Follow up question I have is how does the program, we were just talking about this, but how does your program fosters collaboration instead of competition among the students now that they have made it to maybe their terminal degree program?
Okay, so something that I love that we've done, and Jake has actually done, not me. I've just been a part of it, which is phenomenal. But he with the first cohort, we've had Zoom meetings since they accepted their admissions. So we've had opportunities to see them together via Zoom already multiple times. So I think the first one was clinical based. The one I did a couple weeks ago had multiple components to it, and multiple faculty members a part of it, but we're just trying to cultivate a community that really is not competition and is community. And a lot of that is getting together via Zoom. And we'll be together next month for the orientation that I've already mentioned. It has a robust orientation of fun stuff. I'm leading a book club on Make It Stick, the book that's out there right now that everyone's reading for academics. So just fun things like that. And I mean, look at Jake. He's like the funnest guy ever. So I think
Yeah,
just the
I have
vibe,
to second that.
we have the vibiest faculty. Sorry, it is what it is. But in my personal and professional opinion, so I think just
This
the
is
vibe
this
of
is
You know,
only
it's
this is
fun
only like
to
the
I
thousandth time you guys have said this.
like we
By the way,
actually
this is only
like
the thousandth
talking
it's
and
true. I
like
swear.
and we just
stick it up to
no,
your
it's the
face. No,
vibe.
I
Like I
love
don't know
it.
how else to tell you. It's the
I
vibe.
love it.
Like and you can't fake that.
And to our viewers and
No.
and to our viewers, knowing these guys, I recently met Chloe in person at Diversity CRNA, and I have known Jake for like over 4 or 5 years, also through Diversity CRNA. But knowing these guys personally, they do
Yeah.
practice what they preach. So this is not an act.
That's so nice.
They do practice what they preach. So yeah,
So I
you
think
guys
with
are
that
really
alone, just the vibe of the faculty and
yeah,
that
absolutely.
culture, the culture of our program is very much community over competition. And I don't want to see any, I always tell students clinically that, comparison is a thief of joy. Don't compare because your classmates are going to say, oh, I got 5 A lines today, but I watched them do those 5 A lines and, so you just don't know what's actually going on, and comparing yourselves to one another just creates that unnecessary
Nicely said.
competition. And
Yeah.
we want to support each other to the finish line.
Yep. I might have to steal that too.
Comparison is the thief of joy. I love that. I live by that. Try to live by that.
Yeah,
It was hard. Now that I've got into CRNA school, I try to live by that. So, moving forward, and both of you can talk about this, but what's a common myth about CRNA school that you wished applicants would stop believing? Like, what is a common myth that you
I'd like to
heard
say
time and time?
the one that I've been reflecting on a lot is that the faculty want to see you fail. And that's something that I experience, like walking on eggshells and feeling like I'm on thin ice constantly, like, oh, they're going to kick me out. They're going to kick me out. And to a certain degree, like that in you keeps you going and keeps you performing at a high standard, right? And we want that standard to be there. However, I really want to try to personally flip the script on, we want to see you succeed. We want to see you, I keep mentioning the finish line. So that's my analogy theme for today, but we want to see you cross that finish line. We want to see you succeed and enter this amazing, I'm unbiased, but the most amazing profession in the world. And the faculty aren't here to be scary, but we're also going to hold you to that a high standard. But in that, we want to support you till the end. So that's one myth where it's like we're unapproachable and we're scary and we want to see you fail. That's just not the
Yeah.
case.
I think, have you
me,
heard
and
this
I know
before, that you
Jake,
won't have any
right, Jake?
life during CRNA school? Have you heard that myth? I mean, it's kind of, well, I have a grain of truth in it, right? So, but that's how you
Yes.
make of it, though. I recall back in 2009 when I went to school, I have zero balance. But then when I thought about it, no, I had a life. I met my partner during school. We were able to have a date. And I remember he asked me to go out on a date. I'm like, yeah, I can meet you at 6 a.m. in the morning. I have class at 8. And he met me at 6 a.m. So I made a life, right? Like, right? Well, I
He's
mean,
a
we're still
keeper.
together. We have
He's
a,
a
Yeah,
keeper.
like,
exactly. The
we
rest was
have a daughter
history.
together now. I mean, but so it worked. But I remember hearing you won't have any life, and I remember that after I took pharm comp, after I took oral comp, we all were relaxed. We went to Santa Cruz, we hang out. We have like I gained lifelong friends in CRA school. We had a lot of fun. I mean, there were some period in my life where I had to put my nose to the books, and I have to drive long hour to clinical. And well, actually, I say drive. I didn't really have a car. I took Amtrak and BART and everything to Fresno. I didn't have a car. Yeah, but I I almost. But no, but it was hard. But I remember there were some good times too. We enjoy, we do fun stuff. So you can have a life, you can prioritize wellness. You should prioritize your family. They're always going to be there. Your family should come first. Your health should come first. Your wellness should come first. Your mental health should come first. When you start not sleeping, not eating well, turning to, I don't know, unhealthy habits, I think that's the time when you say that's not healthy anymore. So, yeah, so I think that's a myth.
I was finding health. Oh,
Mhm.
absolutely. Honestly, I've worked on this on my personal self, and you guys might have different opinions or might believe the same way. But I've always treated CRNA school like a full time job
Mhm.
in terms of how I was treating my ICU job when I was an RN. Okay, I'm gonna work 3 12s, but now I work 5 8s. So I study 8 hours a day, but after that, whatever I did when I was an ICU nurse, I had a personal life. That's what I do. Like my Saturday, Sunday are for podcast or stuff that I like.
Mhm.
Social media may be riding my motorcycle, talking to my parents, having FaceTime with them, or whatever it may be. And it has worked out for me so far. So good. So yes, I do agree. You do have a life, but it's about priorities and what you make out of it. Um, Moving forward, are there any specific ways UC Davis encourages applicants to showcase leadership, resilience, or grit during the application process? I know we did talk about this a little bit. Authenticity is a big one, but is there anything else? What kind of leadership opportunities do you maybe value or look for? You don't have to be specific, but any example works.
I think that we look for in UC Davis things that align with our mission statement, that we love to see leadership opportunities in the community. We are very, like I said, community focused and community based at UC Davis. And that's something that we love to see, whether it's volunteer work, not even in the hospital necessarily, at your church or whatever you do outside. Like we just love to see at a animal shelter, like whatever. Like we love to see well-rounded people,
God,
and
this is so
that's something
weird.
that kind of aligns
Someone
with
in
us.
the hospital asked
Jake, do
me
you have
this
anything
the
else to
other
add to that?
day. What kind of leadership or volunteer experience should I do? And then I said this, what makes your heart sing? And then he said, oh, coach black belt to kids at church. I said, then
Mm,
that's what you should do. That's leadership. That's volunteering. You shouldn't do something to try to
yeah.
impress the committee. You should do something that make your heart swell. Because then when you talk about it, the whole committee will seize it. And that's what make you stand out. Now, I can tell you my personal story. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
If Chloe or right, please do. No, no, I was just gonna say if what you just said, if I or Chloe said that, it won't look that pretty. But
I
there's
know.
something about the way
Well,
Jake talks. It
All of
looks
his
because
so
answers,
good.
I'm like,
No,
dang,
it's like
I need a
it's
master
funny. I was
class.
gonna say that because I speak
no,
from the
you
heart.
speak
Like
from the
I
heart. He speaks
remember
from
in
the
my
heart, right?
interview back in 2008, they asked me, what do I do for interview? I'm a big animal lover. I do pug rescue. I go around and rescue pugs, those little ugly dogs with big eyes that nobody wants. And I would drive across counties to drop them off to foster homes. And then on graduation, I still remember in graduation, I won
Oh
an
my gosh, I'm gonna
award.
cry.
And my
Stop.
program director at that time said, and this person even in his busy day, would rescue pugs. And I knew right away it was me because that's what I do, right? So when you do something you like, the committee sees that because you will speak to it. When you force to volunteer to add to your resume, it doesn't come out when people ask you about it. So that's why I said, and well, and this is kind of insight. I love sending Chloe a little next to read audiobook because she would send me something and I would listen to it. And the newest book I read was like, when you do something in life, if it makes your heart swell and sing, that gives you meanings. And it just, when you talk about it, your eyes will light up, your voice will change, your tone, your gesture. And that is something you can't fake. So that's why that make you stand out. So if you get anything out of this podcast, if you dig to inside on what you like and you go after that and then add that to your application, I think it will serve you well during an interview.
And I think
No.
that kind of authenticity doesn't need a spotlight. I think it
Shines
doesn't
on its
need a spotlight. It shines on its own. Absolutely. You nailed it, Jake. Moving forward, so what can inspiring CRNAs do now who are in the ICU working as a registered nurse? What can they do now to prepare for a rigorous program like yours, or to be even a very successful applicant? What can they do now today?
I will say that I would take the sickest patients on the unit, learn as much as you can. I always tell the story of when I worked in the unit, I annoyed everybody with my questions. I would ask the RTs questions. Oh, based on this ABG, like what are these vent settings? Why are we changing this? I would ask the intensivist questions. Like I even on one of my night shifts, I was like, I went up to my charge nurse and she was like, no more questions. And I was like, I'm just trying to figure out how the coffee maker works. She's like, okay, I'll help you with that, but that's it. No more questions. So asking questions, taking the hardest, sickest patients with the most drips, just having that eagerness to learn and ask those questions. That's something you can do on your next shift
For
tomorrow. Honestly,
me,
that's something you can start right away.
the general advice would be get your life in order, right? Meaning that this is something that you can't take lightly. Meaning if you have relationship that's not strong, work that out. If you're single, if you married, work all that out. Because what you don't want is get in the program and have to deal with that. And I'm saying that kind of jokingly, but I have seen it where CRNA will expose the weakest part of your life because stress make you do things that you will regret. I've done it myself, right? So that's why I said, what can you do now is to look around your life. If you're not good with money, learn to budget. If you're not good with time management, learn to do time management. If you are not good at taking critique or receiving feedback, learn to control your facial expression. Learn not to talk back or learn how to ask. No, I mean, I'm serious. Okay, and this is a true story. I drop a patient off in ICU and the art line wasn't working. And I was going to troubleshoot it. And the nurse said, "Oh, have you flushed it? You should know how to flush an art line." To me. And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to reposition the wrist." That won't go well. We don't even know the situation. We don't know what's going on. To come off to someone you don't even know the situation, saying something like that won't go well. No, but there's
I just
but,
I just
but
work
if you
here.
think about that approach, which I mean, I don't know if I would talk to someone who I just met a minute ago. I don't don't care what title, an RN, LVN, whatever. I said, oh, do you mind if I take a look? Have we flushed this? Have we there's so many things we could do collaboratively together. There's no need to show that you know better than me. Of course, you know better than me. I don't know everything, and that's okay. But to tone that down, if you recognize it, that's self-awareness, right? Because once you get in the program, it will be a lot of problem, right?
Mhm.
So self-awareness, dig deep. And somehow this podcast turned into serious.
Absolutely. So, no, this is great. This is great. This is wisdom.
No, it totally is.
The
Like,
UC
if
Davis.
you
I
were
mean,
to
you did
come to
mention these
talk to
views
Jake
already,
in the
so
office because someone said you
I don't have
don't
a
receive
problem with that.
feedback well, this is
No,
the kind of stuff I would tell you. Like, yeah.
yeah, one to one. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is how the one to one would look like.
Mhm.
Well, moving forward, as we're coming to the end of this podcast, we're going to dive into the vision and outlook of UC Davis's nurse anesthesia program. How is the UC Davis's nurse anesthesia program adapting or adapting its nurse anesthesia education to meet the evolving demands of healthcare? We are not immune to the changes which are happening in our world, but how is your program? I know it's a pretty new program, but do you have plans for the
Um,
future?
I'm gonna take it, but do you want to go
Jake, do you
first or
want to
want
take
me to go
this?
first? Because I want to hear your perspective too.
Feel free to feel
Well, we are adapting.
feel
I
free
could
to
Ooh.
tell
also
you
talk
that
about the
AI is the
simulation
big thing in
labs and what
education,
kind of
and we just had the
um,
pretty
feel
robust faculty talk about
yes.
this. AI, I don't think it's going
Mhm.
anywhere, and we would be a fool to think that we could stop the NAR from using AI. I think it would be like it's kind of foolish. But now we have to no, but now we actually have
I've
to.
never heard of
Okay, so
ChatGPT.
here is the serious part. Learning anesthesia and complex topic, sometimes it takes neuron connection. Typing something, reading the right answer doesn't establish that neuron connection. So, how as faculty do I foster that with this new AI? Because it's very easy. It's cut a lot of time. You don't have to read books, it gives you the answer. But how do I do that as a faculty in this? By making it fun, by making it interesting. I have to change. Meaning, 50 slide PowerPoint sitting talking in front of you is no longer going to work. So what else can we do innovatively, right? So we always thinking, and I don't want to give this away, but Dr. Gomez has great idea about how certain things she want to incorporate in her pharmacology course. I got excited hearing about it, right? But we try to use all the different avenue because there's not one style of learning. There's not one way of teaching, but we try to capture all that and try to use AI or teach you to use AI responsibly too. So I think that's one thing that I think the faculty really passionate about, that we know AI is here. How can we use this responsibly?
Yeah, I would second that and just say that we're embracing AI instead of pushing it away. A lot of generations, they take technology and they're like, oh, like get this out of here. The students can't have this. And, in any type of technology advancement in history, honestly, I feel like has been not been as embraced as we're trying to make it at UC Davis for ChatGPT being as accessible as it is. Yeah, we're incorporating a lot of new things. I'm going to do a podcast for my pharmacology courses as well, interviewing other program directors and people with PhDs in pharmacology, and just to show the NARS like what pharmacology is on top of where you can go in this profession. There's so many avenues in academia that I didn't know about that I'll be able to express to them in those interviews. And then as Jake was mentioning, I'm trying to do like a digital notebook. So I had a small funeral for my index cards because I used to personally write out on the, the paper index card. And do you do paper? Okay, because I've never heard of Anki. Anki is a new program where it's like adaptive learning with flashcards. So
Space repetition, adaptive learning, all
it's
that.
adaptive learning. Yes, it's like amazing. So I'd never even heard of that before. So using all these things, and it's a great tool. And I did Quizlet a little bit as I finished anesthesia school, and I got rid of my paper. But the world is changing, and as faculty members, we're embracing it and rolling forward with it to help support students in the best way we can. So we'll see.
Okay, last question. Where do we see the UC Davis's CRNA program heading in the next 5 to 10
Oh,
years?
yes.
Oh my gosh, the gem of the West Coast.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, we'll be 30 students. We're going to grow it eventually, and it's
Well,
just the
the thing about UC
spot to
Davis
be.
particularly, they love international work. And I just needed more hours in a day because I wanted to work with the dean and the Department of International to just create partnership. I just don't have the time yet. So in the next 5 years, I want to grow the opportunity internationally for research simulation. I know other countries that use CRNA. I know other countries that need anesthesia provider and do not have CRNA. So how can we help, right? So that is one of my big thing that I want to do, and that's I want to leave my fingerprint in that little international mark. That's just what I want to do in the next 5 to 10 years. Um, and I hope UC Davis, and I know that with the right support and the right faculty and the right group of people, will get there. Um, so we just need to establish ourselves here, have a strong curriculum, have our alumni go out there in the world. Then I think we're gonna take it internationally. So if I have my vision board, I love I always tell Chloe this. I feel like I have a vision board of what I want to be, and things starting to come true. Like, now in a month, student will be here. So my vision board in the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years, we're gonna go internationally. Yeah. So yeah.
Manifestation. 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 I love it. Mission we love to see mission work, and the world needs our help. The world absolutely. There is not never a I guess the help is we can always help. That's what I'm trying to say. I feel
Yep.
like, and the mission work is phenomenal. Before we end this, I have a rapid fire, 5 questions, and each one of you will answer this question. But one word that defines the UC Davis CRNA program. Chloe.
Ooh, I would say one word, huh? I would say diverse,
Excellent.
honestly.
Jake, you can't repeat it.
Vibey. Can I say vibey? I'll say vibey if you want to say. Dang it, I should have said
Chloe
vibey.
vibey.
Oh, okay.
Diversely vibey or vibey diverse. Right.
Perfect. 2 words.
And this can be more than a word, but a favorite memory of you mentoring or teaching a student, Chloe.
Oh my goodness. I have a NAR that's graduating this cohort from KPSA that I had cry in my office while I was clinical coordinating, and to see her reach the finish line of graduation, it makes me emotional to see, those hard days and that grit and get all the way through. And yeah, I get emotional when I see you guys just overcome obstacles and just become a colleague.
My favorite
Beautiful.
memory was
Yep. No,
one
truly.
of the anesthesiologist friend, her daughter was in the program, rotated with me last semester in the trauma center. I taught her how to put in subclavian line. She put it in so fast that the trauma surgeon was like, "You put that in faster than my resident could." And that's the proudest moment. And I didn't even put my glove on. So that's the testament of the training.
Preach,
Yeah.
preach, preach. Love to hear it. Love to hear. If you could go back to your past days or when you were a nurse anesthesia resident, one piece of advice, what would it be to yourself or the future nurse?
To me and to my students and future students is always that you deserve to be here. That imposter syndrome is definitely real, but you've earned this spot and let's move forward.
Don't put your eggs in one basket. I
Jake?
applied to one school and got waitlisted. It was not a good feeling, but I got in eventually. Yes, yes, it's not a
And a
Moral
no.
of the
waitlist isn't a no.
story,
A waitlist isn't a no, right?
and
That's
moral of
another.
the story, you're not Jake. Moral of the story,
Yeah, look at him
moral of
now.
the story, yeah, moral of the story, you're not Jake. So apply to more programs. So you might not be that lucky. You might not be Jake. So apply to more programs.
I wish I was Jake.
Honestly, though, I wish I was Jake. Moving forward, coffee or meditation before a big case?
Ooh, should be
Oh, I
meditation,
would
but I'd
not
go
drink.
coffee.
I would not drink coffee because then
Where's my
I work
Celsius?
in places where you don't have break person. Coffee mean bathroom, so no thank you. I meditate. I actually love to meditate. I believe in fresh mind. So I I actually meditate before I did this. I meditate before big things. I love it. It's the power of the mind. You will be surprised in what the mind can help you do.
Talking about this and talking about the vibes, I do believe a lot in chakras and the energies that you carry. And every time I've talked to Jake, or even just being around him, you know, there
I
is something
tell people
positive
all
about
the
this
time, I don't want to take too
guy.
much time, but I
I
tell
can
people all the
totally see
time,
it.
you
I can
surround
totally
yourself
see
Same.
it.
with positive
100%.
people,
Yeah,
you bring the positive energy forward. So, yep.
you become the product of your environment. Absolutely. What's one thing you wish that every applicant knew before applying? And this is the last question.
I would say it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. It's the best profession in the world, the best way to help patients and increase access to care. And you'll have good days and bad days, but
All
overall,
right.
it's going to be
This may
so worth
not
it.
answer your question, but it's the way Jake talked, but I'm going to do it. Yeah, 'cause
Jake?
we can finish this without being the Jake. Please know the why you want to do this. Please know the why. Oh no, I'm just a faculty.
You're the
Trust me, I'm
director.
not the director. I'm just a faculty. But please know the why. I just want the applicant to know why you want to do this. That's
Sure.
all. Because if you know why you want to do this, then I see why you want to do this. Yeah, that's all.
It's very important. And when you do hit those roads where you're like, oh, this is more difficult than anticipated, or you just have a really bad day and
Mm-hmm.
you want to
Mm-hmm.
quit,
It keeps you
it's
going.
crucial to reflect back on that why
Yep.
you wanted to do this on the first place. And it comes back to that. It keeps you going. Absolutely. I do agree with that. Well, at this
Oh.
point, we're going to conclude this podcast, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. This podcast will be available on YouTube, Sick Anesthesia Podcast, and Spotify. And I will also tag Chloe's Instagram and the UC Davis's Instagram. So if you guys want to um, engage with Chloe or get more information from the UC Davis's school Instagram page, you can feel free to do that. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in.